and welcome. Haven't we always all wanted to be wanted? You know what I mean. Popular, pretty, in demand. Be the femme fatale, alluring, the figure that causes the opposite sex to fall at your feet. Some call it personal charisma. Some call it exaggerating flirting. But in truth, it's all the art of seduction. My name is Sue McGarvie, and this is Love and Lipstick. And on tonight's show, I promise to give you all the insights from the famous courtesans, seductresses, and lovers extraordinaire. This is your relationship show. We have a mantra on the Love and Lipstick show saying that the quality of your life is the quality of your relationships, whether it's relationships with your partners, yourselves, your bosses, your coworkers, etc. But it's about what matters to you. And I'm here to give you the experts' ideas, the best research, in my humble opinion as your sex and relationship therapist, on how to be seductive. Whether that's in business, it's about flirting or making a sales call. It's about in your own relationship and getting kind of your kids to do exactly what you want. It all requires some ability to just sort of to put yourself in the best foot forward. And it's not just seduction in the very famous what you want. It's get what you want by manipulating everyone's greatest weakness, the desire for pleasure. This is Love and Lipstick, and I'm your host, Sue McGarvie. We're talking about seduction tonight. What do you need to know if you're trying to seduce somebody? I think it's a really interesting question myself, and I always wanted to be, better at it, right? The sort of the femme fatale and Mata Hari kind of person. Looking for some insight, and I've talked to an expert here in Montreal, and he is going to give us the inside scoop into how we should be seducing partners or prospective partners. Frank, how are you?
I'm great, Sue. How are you doing?
I'm good. This is Frank Kermit. He's a relationship coach. And Frank, what do people need to do in order to seduce somebody?
When you're looking to seduce someone, you want to stimulate not only their senses, but as their imaginations as well. You want to get them thinking about you when you're not around. You want them to start fantasizing about you and a potential future and how wonderful it could be.
Well, that's interesting. You're known as a seduction guru. What is that?
Well, I came up with my own style of seduction by addressing men and women's emotional needs, and that earned me the title of guru within the underground seduction community.
I didn't know there was an underground seduction community. Explain that.
Okay. Over the last, let's say, 10 to 15 years, many men have been struggling very much with trying to figure out how to make relationships work. Whereas women had various support systems through feminism, through empowerment, men's roles really haven't changed all that much. Women got more in their gender roles. Men either stayed the same or lost a little bit of ground in the sense that they stopped understanding what their role and identity is as a man in a relationship. Now, to address this, a lot of products and companies started coming out with, you must become the seducer. Your relationship's not going well. In fact, maybe you just really suck at attraction. So they started reading up books on attraction, seduction, and how to become more of the woman's dream man. Mm-hmm. And people started buying these books on the internet. Online forums started to appear. And then something amazing happened. These men started saying, I need to meet other men who are doing exactly what I'm trying to do. So it came to the formation of what we call layers, basically support groups for men who want to better their relationships with women. Okay, well, I'm all in support of that. Anytime we want to better your relationships with women, I'm front in line in terms of cheerleading that. But is it been working? Is it like the kind of mystery method where you actively kind of hunt, conquer, take back to the cave kind of women that you meet at bars? That is part of it. Okay. That is part of it. You have to understand that when seduction layers first started, it was very different from today's understanding of what the world of seduction is. When we first started this, and when we first started forming these support groups, most of the men were between the ages of 25 and 40. We were older, we had already finished our education, we already had an idea of what we wanted to do with our lives, and our love lives were the one area that we struggled with. So you're dealing with just a higher caliber of guy who basically can make the rest of his life work, but couldn't make his love life work. Okay. Today, the seduction community is much younger, where you have teenagers getting involved who can't really seem to figure out what it is they want in the rest of their life. They come into the world of seduction and say, oh, look, I'm supposed to do, and they'll follow a certain program of, well, I'm supposed to approach first, but then I'm supposed to get comfort, and then I'm supposed to seduce. And the fact is, women are not these automatons, mindless creatures. Women can experience a range of emotions all at the same time. And when you apply these type of mechanical categories and this what I would call a rigid process to them, the fact is that doesn't work. You still need to be a charismatic person. You still need to know how to relate through emotions. That's
true. So if people are interested in seducing, and I'm looking at it as a general topic. I read Robert Greene's book on seduction, which talks about some of the most famous women. Where you're talking about Cleopatra and Mata Hari and Marilyn Monroe, etc. Talking about what kind of techniques, but I think it's universal. I think it's both men and women can use ideas on seduction, and you're saying use senses, use it systematically. Don't just willy-nilly go about your day. Think, how do I get better at interpersonal relationships?
The one thing you have to remember is that our society is experiencing something that has never happened before in the history of our culture, and that is everybody now has the power of choice. Social norms are no longer dictating what you can and can't have. You pretty much get to control your life at 100%. Whatever it is you want, you have the ability to go for it without anybody stopping you because of your gender, because of the class you were born into, and so on.
Give me the top 3 things that they need to know in order to manage this better.
Okay, number 1, you need to be able to communicate exactly what your feelings are.
Okay.
That's the first thing. And this is a lot more difficult for men than it ever is for women. Mm-hmm. Because men aren't used to expressing any sort of emotional content.
Okay.
Number 2, you need to be able to express your boundaries. This is very important. This is where women struggle. Because they're not used to being able to say, no, this is how I want to be treated. And define a very clear line. I find a lot of women, especially in my client base, struggle with the idea of, well, I don't want to come off as rude. I want to be polite. I don't want to make the other person feel bad by telling them what my boundaries are. If you don't communicate your boundaries, people aren't going to know what is and is not okay until it's too late. Okay. And by then, you've really caused a negative interaction in the relationship. It's going to be harder for it to develop more positively.
Okay.
So we have the communication of emotion. We have the communication of boundaries. And number 3, being comfortable in your own skin. It doesn't matter how good a communicator you are. It doesn't matter how good you make the other person feel. If you're not comfortable in your own skin, if you're not comfortable with your own body, nobody's going to fully be able to connect with you if you struggle to connect with yourself.
Really good point. So, Frank, you have a website? Give me the details.
My website is www.franktalks.com.
So much for taking the time to talk to us, okay?
It's been great. Thank you very much.
All right.